Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. Today we try to kill Milwaukee's new M12 stubby impact wrench with Sketchy homebrew 12-volt batteries, including tabless ones for the first time in an M12, Amazon Waitley, and even try to force feed some 18 to 20 volt action into these for science, of course, because this little guy has an appetite. A lot of you may have forgot we have tested the last gen Milwaukee Gen 1 M12 compact with larger batteries, and between the 6 amp hour and 5 amp hour high output, there's not much between it, which is good news, I think. Let's not pretend that it's not a super useful hip shooter of a tool, so just use the batteries you sort of already do, with the larger looking ones having an advantage in general. This new guy, though, not only wants the bigger batteries to do what it says it can do, with quite some gap in between, it wants Milwaukee's latest and greatest high output with high discharge cells inside, because tool brands these days are basically battery salespeople at this point. But yeah, it's also sort of cool. The motors are getting a little bit bigger and can request a whole lot more amps these days, more than many packs can willingly supply. So let's find out just how much these could take if they wanted to, with some M18 thrown in for fun. This all started when a viewer, Skylar, said, "Hey, look at these various custom packs I made, including tabless for M12. Well, yeah, you read my mind. We had just got delivery of a chonker of an M12 case that fits not just one 12-volt 3-cell series inside, not two in parallel like these packs, but three in parallel for a tower of cells to test the theory we had. So we sent this off to Skylar to finish up, and what we got back was Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium of warranty testers. You see, there's a bit of a secret hiding behind using brand names to describe batteries instead of real meaningful adjectives and stats. We've got high output over here, which in their M18 line meant 21700 cells, specifically Samsung ones. In M12, they went from 18650 cells to 18650 cells again with their high output, but higher discharge 25S cells in place of 25Rs, or 30 Qs in the M12 6 amp hour here. Stick with me. There's a lot of numbers and letters to basically explain here why 5 is beating a 6 and not by a small amount. But this whole naming scheme is also why a 6 amp hour Forge battery on our M18 can use a lithium stacked bunch of pouches like last year, and now Forge is tabless cylindrical 21700 cells, which we will test today. They can sort of do and call these whatever they want. Basically, a long way of saying a high output M12 battery is them just switching cell model numbers, which happens all the time with other brands without this advertising push. So what if they did do more for this platform in the form of more cells, or shoehorning what we wish they'd done, put 21700s in here, and this day and age, that can include spicy tabless boys. Our first test is to see where we are, where we came from, and where we're going with this guy. Our 6 amp hour Waitley pack from Amazon. We've been using this for about a year and a half now, but haven't shown it much, if at all, on the channel. Here it is. As you can probably tell, this isn't going to make a comeback here at the end and somehow beat the high output or real 6 amp hour battery. This is going to go on here to make 278 foot-pounds, which is not record-breaking. But you know what? I posted this recently on our community page too. I'm not mad at this thing. We bought it for around 26 bucks. It still works a year and a half later. Sure, the insides, yeah, they're no name cells, as you might expect from the torque results, but they do total 6 amp hours. I still use it on lower torque underdash trim fender work, and where I'm trying to limit torque anyways. It has a battery level display, and yeah, lately this has been like 19-20 bucks. The fact that it has 6 cells and a board for $20 is crazy, much less a year and a half later, its retention tab's still working fine. But as sketchy as that could have been, it's not why we're gathered here today, of course. I'm curious, what if we took cells out of their like XC 5.0 battery and put them in an M12 with additional rows of them in parallel? For a 7.5 amp hour pack, is the key high discharge cells like the 25S's they put in high output, or is it more simply more capacity without using just low discharge cells in general? Enter the 7.5 amp hour M12 battery we theorized could answer this. Now, Skylar, in case you couldn't tell, loves to make spicy compact lightweight battery abominations. This is more up our alley though, this clubfoot looking thing. I mean, if it doesn't look stupid or barely possible to exist, how's it going to be fun? That's sort of our model. Let's see how it does. Here's our Hamhawk 7.5 amp hour in green on screen, taking on the rest. So this one was a bit strange. Each test we ran was lower, well, lower only than the 5 amp hour high output, but still we obviously experienced this in person as a lower final figure, and a bit bummed, yeah. But this curve is an interesting one, not one we often get to experience. Call it what you will, board quality or discharge rate versus voltage sag between better cells and more cells. This looks a little backwards to us, all that grunt out of the gate, then flattening out. For the design we went with, it's just, well, sort of cool to be surprised with something like this. Alright, well, if the last battle still tipped in favor of high discharge cells, even if there's less of them, meet the final boss, tabless 21700 cells stuffed into an M12 battery case. We'll find out more details by cracking this thing open in a second, but this thing got my motor running when I heard about it. We're skipping full steps here in the hierarchy of tech. We're not going from 18650s to high output 21700s. We're also skipping the Gen 1 forged tech and going straight to Gen 2 forged tabless cells. I'm not wasting any more of your time. Want to see how it does. Here it is on screen in blue. And we did it, finally, with 430 foot-pounds unseating the high output pack. It may sound like a small victory, and yeah, numerically sorta is. We're not talking large margins with a 12-volt compact when you get a win usually. But this is particularly impressive when you consider this pack has half the battery cells as that 5 amp hour. Just 3 in here due to packaging restraints, that shell designed for 18650s after all. The bottom 2 even have to be clocked in at an angle to fit in. And that all looks like this, 3 cells put into a large pack to fit them in. And as it turns out, these are 4 amp hour EVE tabless cells. We're talking 70 amps out peak discharge, 70 amps. Compare that to 25 amps out of the high output battery. Well, maybe double that if using 6 of them, which is still lower, and a nice change from the traditional amp-based JP40 cells that you're going to find in most all of the tabless packs coming out lately, which we can do a roundup test series on video. A lot of you have been asking for that. Even spicier than those, it would appear, and with tin and copper sandwich strips to translate all of those amps. This pack is not playing around for something that feels very lightweight and almost hollow. If Milwaukee would make a shell to fit these, man, the tools they could design with that on tap. If anyone has some custom 21700 cell 2P shells for M12 available, let us know. But all said, it's still not dead. So we set out to fix that. One of our most emailed, Instagram, DM'd, commented M12 suggestions we get on the channel is to use one of these 18 volt to 12 volt M12 adapters, allowing you to hook up 12 volt tools to 18 to 20 volts when fully charged. Has always sounded like a terrible idea to me. You could just provide the tool. So obviously, yeah, I'm on board. Let's do that. We tried it with multiple battery types, including custom M18 ones we were just sent, and this forged 8 amp hour battery. This run you're seeing here is pretty typical though, in orange. Yeah, this thing is not great. As you can see here, you're better off saving the money buying the old M12 compact impact wrench, and you'd make more beans using that leftover cash to buy real batteries. The chief reason being, and I suppose I should have seen this coming, it's not 18 volts, it is just 12 volts, which means there's got to be some more stuff inside here. There's got to be a DC step-down buck converter type thing inside, and yeah, bingo, there you have it. Something this size and price is going to do like maybe 10 amps max, which is like taking these 70 amp cells, heck, even the 25 amp cells and the 5 amp hour high output, and making them go on a diet down to 10 before entering the tool. A real-life bottleneck, and I guess it makes sense if they're selling these everywhere and not planning on frying everyone's tools left and right. But we're not after practicality here, we're after fun learning factor on these 4 Science episodes. It was only 24 bucks, so if you're powering a work light or M12 radio and want it to last all day, sure, I could see it. Seems like it would work fine for that if you don't have M12 batteries. We're just gonna cut out the middleman here, wire these hot to hot and ground to ground for a good old fashioned 20 volt good time. It's finally registering what we signed up for here. Yeah, 20 volts, and the tool Yeah, no likey, the light's on, but no one's home. It's making a lot of heat, and not in a good way, and it just tries to kill the tool. Now only showing half charge on any battery you put on this tool, charged or not. So of course, we plugged this into more tools until we found one that would work. And turns out our M12 impact driver is just the guy. This thing on 20 volts is like the guy working at the evidence locker an hour after a big Miami Vice bust, aggressively in a hurry for no apparent reason. The tool with an M12 battery sees 3,750 RPM, which is to be expected. And because voltage is so closely tied to RPM, with an M18 pack, it sees 5,900, near 6,000 RPM. Yowza. If you use that kind of RPM on a rotating hammer on a stuck bolt, it can result in some hiccups, not very clean dyno runs that we are able to get through. But what's just insane is this thing driving stuff in wood and otherwise. That's just mental. And check this out, driving a nylon lock nut in our driving speed test versus itself with a normal high output. It's almost comical how fast this thing drives things. Look at it versus the M18, designed to use the battery packs it's using. A little over 2.4 seconds is an overall record for any voltage of any impact driver we've tested, and in front of the monster DCF 860. As is, might be the fastest driving impact driver on the planet. It's just fun. Alright, a few bonus packs sent out to us in this spice box here. When size and weight is a priority, this is what that looks like. Custom modded packs in the form of a CP 2.0 donor converted into, well, something else, which we can compare to an actual CP 2.0 on Milwaukee's new 2967 high torque, which I don't think we've done before. And then with a compact 3.0 high output donor pack, another creation we're supposed to put up against the best from the best in Milwaukee. Something this size, we'll see how that does. The baseline here is this powerhouse of a Gen 3 M18 high torque with a standard 5 amp hour pack and 6 amp hour forge. You can also buy it with the CP 2.0. Puts up a fight here, but understandably isn't gonna get all the way there. You can feel it and hear that it doesn't love it. It's gonna make just under a Gen 2 M18 high torque. What that can make with a 5 amp hour, here making 758 foot-pounds. Now, situations like this, and really the new M12 compact included, I really shouldn't be complaining. Been sort of asking brands to do this for a while now. These tools are all designed to work, like without hiccups and shutoffs, with the smallest batteries the brands make. They have to still work, and that's sort of a shame. Instead of designing a tool for what it could do with the latest tech you offer, you have to find something in the middle that's not going to make people with smaller batteries upset. The more brands move away from that, something we're saying would make some sense, the more gap you put between batteries. It's nice when they point that out in the performance claims and tell you about it, but yeah, the biggest downside of something like that strategy is usually overall a lot heavier tool when you require stuff that looks like this, which is also on its face a bit stupid in a high-tech sort of tool industry. Skylar here, his whole approach is an answer to that, assuming they work. Why can't we just have both? This smaller 2.0 looking pack up first, it cuts actual pounds off the tool. Let's see it on screen in orange. 869 foot-pounds, trending more like an XC 5.0 than anything in the smaller range, with one less row of batteries, not even 21700 cells to be able to fit in this thing. That's pretty awesome. Let's take a look inside, and inside you're going to see, yup, 18650s, wouldn't be able to squeeze anything else in here. Some doubled over tin strips for less resistance and more peak amps happiness. And as it turns out, some Molicel 28As, not a cell we've messed around with before, but we have used Molicels before for their super punchy specs. This is an 18650 cell with 35 amps peak discharge. For reference, 30 Qs in this are 15 amps, the 25Rs and most XC 5.0s and Makita packs are 20 amps, and the M12 high output cells are 25 amps. This is a full 10 amps peak discharge rate above that. Imagine drills, which use a lot of watts, getting full performance from a package this small and light. It's awesome. Inside the CP 3.0 looking pack, our last one on the day, we're going to find more EVE tabless cells with a lot more copper reinforcing things everywhere, which means this is actually more like a CP 4.0, which they don't offer, and more like a Forge 4.0 realistically, which I think would be awesome, and 70 amps on tap now instead of just 35. Let's see if Milwaukee should be making such a thing on screen in yellow. Yeah, I'd say they should be making something like this. It's not letting go of the lead here. This thing just hits different. Enough so that if you put this on by accident in place of a normal CP 3.0 high output, you'd notice it real fast. Some of that has to be weight difference compared to these 6 and 8 amp hour packs, like less of a pendulum effect, dampening things, maybe. It really wants to twist you up and take you for a ride. 994 foot-pounds is no small feat. This thing is mega. I love it. But of course, Milwaukee isn't going to be caught sleeping. They've come out with a new 8 amp hour and massive 12 amp hour forge packs that do deserve a rebuttal. The 8 amp hour forge also using tabless cells up first. And nope, not gonna make you wait for this one. Been a lot of dyno runs today. These two are going to play a rope-a-dope here, and the custom pack isn't a clean dyno curve, but somehow against all odds, it comes out on top here at the end for whatever reason. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Sure, different cells, but verse 2 series in parallel, that should be way more combined. I don't have a reason, perhaps less nannies on it being a custom abomination, but I'm not disappointed. This combo is just sweet. Of course, there is a 12 amp hour forge, and we'll leave you with that today. If you want to get your pump on at work, get those arm curls in, and just no replacement for displacement sort of mentality, the Forge 12 amp hour rips. This is going to finally crest 1,000 in a gratifying way, and a big thanks to Skylar. Hopefully we can see cells like the EVE tabless and others soon enter the game as they keep upping the ante on each other. I have a feeling even after all the way we've come here, we're still only at the beginning. Thanks for watching.